What happens when an arrogant professor decides to publicly humiliate a student she doesn't like, only to realize too late that she's just challenged a genius? Not just any genius, Barron Trump, with a certified 170 IQ. What she thought would be an easy target turns into a shocking revelation. By the end of this story, you won't believe what happened next, and trust me, your jaw will hit the floor. I'll tell you exactly how it went down, but first, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Dr. Amelia Bennett advanced calculus class at one of America's top universities is known for two things: her impressive skills in mathematics and her increasingly obvious political views. The students come to learn math, but they also know Dr. Amelia has a strong agenda she likes to push, and today, it's more than just numbers. As the class begins, the usual complex math equations are nowhere to be found on the whiteboard. Instead, there's a message: redefining academic priorities. This change in focus immediately grabs the students' attention. They were expecting calculus, but now the class is about to take a different turn, one that involves social justice and political topics rather than math. In the back of the room, quietly sitting in a perfectly pressed black suit, is Barron Trump. He's reserved and doesn't seek attention, preferring to keep to himself. The other students know who he is, but they don't know what he's capable of. They've heard about his perfect test scores and serious dedication to his studies, but that's all. Today, they're about to find out that Barron is more than just another student in the class. He's someone who'll challenge everything Dr. Amelia is about to lay out. Dr. Amelia starts her lecture, talking about the importance of academic priorities. At first, it seems like just another lecture on the usual subjects: calculus, theories, and mathematics. But quickly, her tone shifts. She begins discussing the idea of redefining academic priorities, focusing less on abstract theories and more on real-world issues, specifically social justice. The whiteboard, instead of math problems, now displays slides filled with statistics about gender representation in STEM fields. It's clear this class is taking a turn, and not in the direction the students expected. She continues with a message about privilege, stating that some students may have advantages that aren't necessarily earned. As her words grow more pointed, she looks directly at Barron Trump, clearly implying that his success is due to his privileged background and family connections, not his abilities. She asks the class, "How many of you believe your academic success truly reflects your merit, or is it tied to who you know, where you come from?" The room grows quieter. Some students glance at Barron, unsure how he'll react, but Barron's calm expression doesn't change. He slowly raises his hand, his voice steady as he speaks up. "Dr. Amelia," he says politely, "I believe calculus is fundamental to understanding both theoretical and applied sciences. We chose this class to deepen our knowledge of mathematics, not to focus on social issues." His words are simple, yet powerful, questioning the logic of shifting the focus of the class. Barron continues, "Wouldn't reducing the core curriculum to focus on social issues potentially disadvantage all students, regardless of their background? Shouldn't we be focusing on keeping academic standards high?" Amelia's expression hardens. She wasn't expecting any challenge, especially not from Barron. Dr. Amelia Bennett, with a smirk on her face, decided it was time to show Barron Trump just how out of place he really was in her class. With a flourish, she wrote a complex, graduate-level calculus equation on the whiteboard. It was a problem that even the most confident students in the room would struggle with, one involving advanced integration techniques and multivariable calculus. The kind of problem that would leave most undergraduates stumped. She turned toward Barron, her gaze cold and challenging. "Since you seem so passionate about mathematics," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, "let's see how you handle this. Solve it for us." The room went silent, all eyes on Barron, waiting to see how he would respond. Most students were already mentally preparing for Barron to falter. After all, this wasn't just any ordinary math problem, it was one designed to expose a lack of knowledge, to humiliate him. Dr. Amelia had made her move, confident that Barron would not be able to solve it. But Barron didn't flinch. His composure was steady, and a calm smile played at the corners of his lips. "Of course," he replied simply, as if the challenge was nothing more than a mild inconvenience. He stood up, walking confidently toward the whiteboard, marker in hand. As he began to work through the equation, Barron's movements were deliberate and precise. He broke down the complex problem with a sense of calm confidence, moving through each step with ease. The students watched, transfixed, as he navigated the problem effortlessly, making it look almost too simple. His handwriting was neat, every step clearly explained for the class to follow. "Notice," Barron said, pausing for a moment, "that we can simplify this expression using an approach from LiveNet's original papers." The mention of LiveNet caught Dr. Amelia off guard. She hadn't expected him to reference such an advanced concept, especially one from outside the scope of the course. Barron continued, "The original insights from Live's work offer a much more efficient way to solve this, allowing us to bypass the lengthy method typically taught in class." The students in the room exchanged looks, some of them pulling out their phones to record the moment. Barron's approach was elegant, breaking down the problem in a way that was both sophisticated and easy to understand. As he worked through the solution, he would pause every few steps to explain his reasoning to the class, ensuring everyone could follow along. Even those who struggled with calculus found themselves understanding the problem as Barron explained it clearly, step by step. Dr. Amelia Bennett's smug expression began to fade as Barron's brilliance became undeniable. He wasn't just solving the problem, he was teaching the class, showcasing his expertise in a way that left the professor speechless. The rest of the class, once filled with tension, was now captivated, their attention completely on Barron. This was no longer just about solving a math problem. It was about witnessing a student shatter expectation, and in doing so, proving that his intellect was far beyond what anyone had assumed. As Barron continued to solve the complex problem with ease, Dr. Amelia's expression shifted from smug confidence to a subtle flicker of doubt. She watched in disbelief as his marker danced across the board, each step more precise and confident than the last. She had expected him to struggle, to fail, but instead, he was making quick work of a problem designed to trap him. Her voice trembled as she spoke up, trying to regain control. "Mr. Trump," she began, her words no longer carrying the same authority, "I thought you were here to discuss academic priorities, not show off your knowledge." Her attempt to divert the focus back to her lecture fell flat. Barron remained unshaken, calmly finishing the problem and turning to face the class. "I'm not showing off," Barron said, his voice measured but firm. "I'm just doing what we're supposed to do here, solving problems and using the tools of education to further our understanding. If we're going to be taught, we should be focused on learning, not politics." Dr. Amelia's jaw tightened. She hadn't expected Barron to turn the tables on her this way. His calm, measured response made her feel like she was losing control of the situation. She stepped back from the board, her mind racing for a comeback, but before she could speak, the door to the lecture hall swung open. Dean Richardson, a known ally of Dr. Amelia's political views, stepped inside, his presence immediately commanding attention. Dr. Amelia," he called, walking towards the front of the class, "I need you for an emergency meeting about the new curriculum changes." His timing couldn't have been better for Dr. Amelia. She hoped his arrival would help shift the focus, but Barron wasn't done yet. Barron stood tall, his voice cutting through the tension in the room. "Professor," he said with quiet authority, "you challenged me to solve this problem in front of the class. I accepted your challenge, and now, you're about to walk away without honoring your own challenge." The room went silent. The students, who had been recording the exchange, watched with rapt attention. Dean Richardson, unsure of how to handle the situation, glanced between Barron and Dr. Amelia. Barron wasn't backing down. "I'm not suggesting anything," Barron continued, addressing the dean. "I'm stating a fact." Dr. Amelia made a public challenge to prove a point about privilege and merit. I accepted, and now, the only question is whether she will honor her challenge or walk away from it. The pressure was now on Dr. Amelia. The dean, her ally, stood silently, caught between supporting her or respecting Barron's stance on academic integrity. The entire room felt the shift in power. What was meant to be a political display was now a test of honor, and Barron was determined to make sure Dr. Amelia would not walk away from her challenge. The silence in the room was deafening, and all eyes were on Dr. Amelia to see how she would respond. As the room fell into an uncomfortable silence, the atmosphere began to shift. The tension that had hung in the air throughout Dr. Amelia's politically charged lecture slowly dissipated. Barron's calm but assertive stance had not only exposed the flaws in the professor's approach but had also sparked a turning point in the class. No longer was the focus on political divides. Instead, it became clear that education should be about knowledge, merit, and intellectual growth, not ideological battles. Barron, without gloating or demanding recognition, had simply stood his ground, emphasizing the importance of maintaining academic integrity and focusing on the subject matter. His ability to remain calm and focused on the value of learning was evident, and it resonated with the class. The students, who had once felt divided or intimidated by the political rhetoric, now found themselves united in the pursuit of understanding. What Barron had shown them wasn't just about math, it was about the power of education to transcend political bias and create a space where intellectual discourse could thrive without interference from personal agendas. Dr. Amelia, visibly shaken by the exchange, stood in stunned silence for a moment before her posture began to change. She looked at the board, at the students, and then back at Barron. There was a moment of realization in her eyes. She had allowed her political views to cloud her teaching and her judgment. In a quiet, almost hesitant voice, she admitted, "I've been too focused on pushing a political agenda. I lost sight of what really matters here, the merit of education, the importance of learning, and the responsibility we all have as educators to foster that." The transformation in Dr. Amelia wasn't just in her words but in her demeanor. She recognized Barron's true leadership, not through forceful dominance, but through his ability to guide the class back to what truly mattered, education. Her acknowledgement of his intellect and integrity marked the beginning of a shift in her approach to teaching. Dean Richardson, who had been observing from the sidelines, stepped forward, nodding in approval. "What we've seen today," he began, "is not just a demonstration of academic brilliance, but also a reminder of the importance of focusing on the fundamentals of education. It's easy to get caught up in political debates, but today, this class has learned a valuable lesson about the true essence of learning, merit, collaboration, and the pursuit of knowledge." The classroom, once a battleground for political opinions, began to shift. Students who had once felt alienated or confused by the professor's focus on social issues now embraced a new perspective. The class became a place where diverse ideas could be discussed respectfully, where learning took precedence over political affiliations. The transformation was subtle but powerful. Barron's actions had turned the class from a place of division into one of collaboration and intellectual growth, and it was clear that this shift would ripple throughout the entire department. The story, which began with an attempt to humiliate a student, ultimately shifted into a powerful lesson in personal growth for everyone involved. Barron Trump's calm, measured response to Dr. Amelia Bennett's challenge wasn't just a demonstration of his academic brilliance, it was a lesson in humility, leadership, and the importance of focusing on what truly matters in education. Rather than allowing himself to be undermined or embarrassed, Barron used the opportunity to show his classmates and his professor that true education transcends politics. He didn't just solve the math problem, he helped redirect the focus of the class back to the pursuit of knowledge. Barron's actions proved that real leadership doesn't come from tearing others down or winning an argument, it comes from elevating those around you and using your knowledge to inspire others. In the end, Barron continued to be a quiet yet powerful force in the class, offering help to those who needed it, guiding his peers with a genuine desire to make them better, not just academically, but as thinkers. His actions left a lasting impact on Dr. Amelia and the class, reminding them all of the true purpose of education: to learn, grow, and share that knowledge in a way that benefits everyone. The story of Barron Trump's stand in the classroom teaches us that true education is about more than just memorizing facts or passing tests. It's about having the courage to stand up for what's right, the wisdom to navigate challenges with grace, and the integrity to always prioritize knowledge over personal agendas. It's a reminder that the greatest leaders are those who use their knowledge not to divide, but to unite and elevate others in the pursuit of truth.